I'm Dr. Jessica Donahoe, Lead Psychologist for Autism Assessment Hub, and today we're joined by Emma, a previous client of our service with a combined diagnosis of autism and ADHD. And in this conversation, we're hoping to hear a bit more about her experiences. So Emma, thinking back to when you first came to us, which was a year and 18 months ago, something like that, could you maybe give us an outline of what you were thinking about, what you were experiencing at the time that led you to pursuing an assessment?
Well, it didn't actually come from me to get the assessment.
Okay.
So when I was a student at university, I did a placement on a mental health ward that was also for autism. And on my second day, my mentor just assumed that I was on the spectrum. And so she was like, "Oh yeah, you're on the spectrum, aren't you?" And I was like, "What?" So then she proceeded to list all the things she'd noticed.
Okay.
So then I just kind of was like, okay, cool. And then when I saw my GP the next time for whatever, I was like, just out of curiosity, I've had these things like brought to my attention. Is it worth looking into? And she was like, I don't know. So she did some sort of initial questionnaire thingy, which I apparently scored very high on because she was kind of like, oh, okay, yes. So,
yeah. Okay. Can you remember any of the things that were pointed out to you or things that you were made aware of at the time?
I think one of them was that I fidget a lot and I have to like touch everything.
Okay.
And there was something about how I take everything at face value. So
Okay.
like what you say to me is what I'll understand. So if you're making a joke or you don't mean what you say, I will not pick up on that.
Right.
And they had a great laugh about that while I was
there. How was that?
Well, I just laughed with them because they were laughing, so I assumed it was supposed to be funny.
Okay. So it sounds like they were picking up on social communication differences, maybe sensory differences with you liking to touch and feel things, and fidgeting, moving, restlessness, that kind of thing. And when they said that, were they things that you noticed in yourself, or was it news?
Well, I don't really think I'd noticed because I think I've always been very fidgety and things like that. So that was just normal to me. So I'd never considered that it was something different.
Yeah. And did it affect you, do you think, in your university life up until that point?
I really struggled to make friends at uni. I always found that really difficult. I don't know, the lights were always really horrible. And it used to be difficult to concentrate in lectures because the lights were really bright. Yeah, I don't know.
And you did placements because it was a nursing degree, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So in your placements, was that something, did that present particular challenges over and above lectures and coursework and that kind of thing?
I feel like I found the placement aspects easier because it was hands-on and I was actually like doing a role, so I had like things to follow and things that I had to be like meeting the criteria for and things like that. So I had like more of a clear focus.
Okay. And how about your work now? Have you qualified now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're working as a qualified nurse, mental health nurse. And you said earlier it's on a deaf unit. Yeah. So your day-to-day work is presumably meeting new patients, caring for patients, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, because it's a specialist unit, we generally have the same patients for quite a long time. So you really get to know them, which is quite nice rather than a quick turnover.
Okay. And since your diagnosis, have you put anything in place, or has your employer put anything in place that's made things easier for you to manage or do things more
My
comfortably?
my manager, I'm allowed to wear my noise cancelling headphones on the ward if I need to, if all the alarms are going off. I had a workplace needs assessment done, but funding's difficult to actually implicate the things that it picked up, or like the suggestions and stuff. So we're still waiting on that.
Right. Okay. What were the things that were picked up that would be helpful?
So there was like a couple of softwares to help me with like report writing and stuff, because I struggle to just sit and complete the task. I find that really difficult because I just get distracted by everything. And I find it easier to kind of speak what I'm thinking rather than like typing it or writing it out, because I kind of forget my train of thought halfway through a sentence. But if I'm talking, I can normally just about finish it and then edit it if I need to.
Okay.
So they were looking at a software where I could like dictate and then go back through and edit and take out bits that weren't needed. But I'd basically need my own work laptop for that, which is expensive. So it's just difficult.
Yeah. Okay.
But my manager's working on it. She's very good.
So thinking about the process of diagnosis, can you kind of explain what difference that made to you, or any particular impact from going through that process and then having the diagnoses?
I think getting the diagnosis kind of felt like all pieces slipped together.
Okay.
And like I understood that actually I wasn't just shy, you know, I wasn't overly sensitive. I wasn't weird. Well, I am weird, but
individual.
Yeah. There was, you know, a reason for it, and there was a reason for why I sometimes saw things from a different point of view to other people. And I'd been given various like mental health diagnoses before this point, and nothing ever quite fit. And then I got the autism and ADHD, and it just kind of covered everything. And I was like, oh, okay, that's why. So it's just kind of nice.
And in your experience, did it kind of make sense with hindsight as well?
Yeah.
So looking back over years before and childhood and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was obviously a new idea for you when this placement supervisor mentioned it.
Yeah. It's quite funny though, because my godmother, she's retired now, but she worked with children with learning disabilities. And when I got my diagnosis, I went to her and I was like, oh, look what I've been diagnosed with. And she was like, yeah, I'm not surprised. So, you know, when you're there, like, well, why didn't you say anything?
Yeah, that was frustrating. Okay. And then moving forward with a diagnosis, what changed for you?
I think I kind of give myself the time now. So, like, if something's difficult, I allow myself time to work on it, or I'll be like, it's okay if I can't do it. And things like that, rather than just getting frustrated and being like, why can't I do what everyone else does?
So it's more about like self-acceptance and allowing yourself what you need, really.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you told people about the diagnoses?
Yeah, I tell everyone.
Okay. So you're comfortable disclosing it and sharing that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what led you to that decision? How did you feel that would be more helpful than not disclosing it?
I don't know. I think I was just kind of like, factually it was there. This is a thing about me, so I just tell people.
Mm-hmm.
I think to start with, I used to use it as a like, sorry if I do this, or this. I've got a diagnosis of autism and ADHD, but now it's, I don't think I use it as like an apology anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's become part of your identity.
Yeah.
And it's more of an explanation and a way to understand you individually rather than an apology. Yeah. Okay. So we know that neurodivergence brings various challenges, but also strengths. Can you talk a bit about what strengths have come from having the combined diagnosis particularly?
I'm very good at focusing on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be something that I'm interested in or that like grabs my fancy.
Mm-hmm.
But I can like sit and like say like I really like jigsaws, so like I can do like 1,000-piece jigsaw in a few hours because I could just sit and do it
and really focus.
Yeah. And I remember loads of random facts about things.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm apparently really good at like absorbing information about people. So like if a friend mentions that they really like, I don't know, Star Wars Lego,
Mm-hmm.
once, like a couple of years later, if I saw it, I'd be like, oh, I have to get that because I remember on this day that somebody said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the information goes in and sticks.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then when I need information, it's often not there.
Okay, so what are the challenges that you face then?
I don't know. I like to say that I have like the two personalities with the autism and the ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've seen Wicked.
No.
But it's one of my favourite shows. But you have Alphabet, who she's got green skin. She's always been on the outside. Everybody's scared of her. She's just very focused on what she wants. Very quiet. Doesn't really know how to socialize. All these things. Okay. So I kind of say that I feel like I relate to her for the autism. But then Glinda, the other main character, she's just really like, she's like a bottle of pop, like really full of energy and flamboyant, and she just wants to do everything, and she's really chatty. And like all these things. So I always say that they're my two personalities. So then it kind of depends on a day-to-day basis which one's more up. Because like if I'm having a Glinda day, I find it very difficult to complete anything. Like I get really distracted. I get overwhelmed really easily. But then on another day, like if I'm on like an Alphabet day, I could have like I could focus and I could probably be really productive and get everything done. So it's like this constant battle of like being really organized and being a chaotic mess.
Yeah. That's really interesting with Wicked. I didn't know the story.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've heard a lot where people have both autism and ADHD, and they talk about these competing personalities, and how in certain situations, certain contexts, you can really feel that.
Yeah. It's like I thrive with a routine. Like I routine everything. So like I brush my teeth at the same time, you know, all these things. And I have this app on my phone where I can check them off, and it's just nice to visualize. But then on the flip side, I find it really difficult to stick to a structure because my brain is just firing all over the place
Yeah,
and thinking
yeah.
of all these different things, and so that can be quite difficult and quite tiring.
How about in social situations? Do you feel a kind of conflict sometimes between the two sides of you?
I think it depends, because like if I'm with like my friends, they just kind of go with me wherever wherever I go in the conversation, or things like that. But if it's a social situation that I'm not used to, I find it really difficult to navigate, because I never know whether to like just jump in and try and be bubbly, chatty, smiley, all these things, or whether to just kind of stay on the outside and observe everything, and then pick up what's working and what isn't, and then kind of reflect it back.
So I suppose you're more comfortable with friends.
Yeah.
So you just go wherever it takes you. How have your friends and your family and the people around you reacted or responded to you having these diagnoses?
They've all taken it really well. I think my dad thinks it's a load of rubbish. But everyone else has taken it really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it going on again? So you said before that receiving the diagnoses has kind of made you accept things about yourself and given yourself some allowances that you maybe wouldn't have done before. So managing day-to-day stresses and looking after yourself, has that changed? Have you got particular strategies or things you rely on to manage stress?
I nap a lot. Like if I have two different things to do in a day, so say if I work a morning shift and then I know that in the afternoon or the evening I'm doing something else, I'll nap in between, because I kind of feel like it like refills my social battery. That helps.
And you said you've got an app on your phone that helps with kind of ticking things off that you need to do.
Yeah, because sometimes like if I'm really tired or I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, I can just look at the app and I can just kind of follow the order of things without thinking too much about it. So I can just be like, okay, I have to brush my teeth. So it just kind of helps me just like get through them without too much overthinking it.
So the focus is on doing it and not thinking and planning and preparing and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have similar things that help with work?
I do try and like write myself a to-do list for what needs to be done that shift, and then I kind of will mark what's like more of a priority, just to make sure that the really important things get done. Yeah, it's really bad, but I vape as well, which means that I can go off the ward every now and then if I need to, just 5 minutes, get some fresh air, have a vape, have a reset, and then go back in and carry on. Sometimes the nursing office gets really busy and really loud, and there'll be like loads of different conversations going on, and it's really hard to follow any of them. So if there's a side room free, I'll just kind of take myself away into a side room to get my work done. Because I'm so easily distracted that if somebody mentions something that I'm even remotely interested in, I'll completely forget what I was doing because I want to talk about whatever it was that was mentioned. I think it's just about knowing my limits, I guess.
And letting yourself have limits.
Yeah.
Because you said before about almost beating yourself up that you couldn't do things that other people could do. So is that like a difference in mindset that you've experienced?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I don't think I noticed it change, but it did.
And then thinking on a broader level, are there things that in an ideal world you would like to see in society to better support neurodivergent people?
I don't know. I guess less judgment, maybe. Like if everybody was just allowed to like be themselves,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I always check my behaviour. Like if I'm out somewhere, if I'm shopping
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that, I always have to like check that my behaviour fits the people around me. And I guess it would be nice to not have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's more again about acceptance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing for me, anyway.
Okay. So can you tell us a bit more about experiences in school when you were younger?
I was very shy. I was always classed the teacher's pet because I was following the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So I was called a snitch, all that kind of stuff. But in my head, I was just doing what we were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
In primary school, I was top of my class with like maths and English. So it got to a point where you have like reading time, don't you, when you're in primary school? And the teacher would just be like, "You're like 3 years ahead of this. Just go pick a book from the school library."
Right.
Which I always enjoyed. But then obviously people would be like, "Oh, look at her, she's so smart." Blah, blah, blah. But then secondary school, I kind of felt like I went from the top to the bottom. And suddenly there were all these other factors that I had to like adjust in. And it was really difficult. I was picked on a lot. I was the weird girl in the year. If I joined a team, they'd never include me, so it was always like me on the outside. I did rowing at school for a while. I liked I don't know, it was just nice.
Mm-hmm.
I find water very soothing. And then this one time, all the girls on the team made a plan to leave me at school. So it was like a half an hour drive to school from where I lived. And I walked in on them planning it. And they just thought it was funny. And they were like, "Well, it's fine. She won't tell anyone. She's a good girl."
And so nobody found out that was happening?
No. I didn't want to get anyone in trouble. I was just kind of trying to go under the radar. But I really struggled to sit still in lessons. I'd get distracted really easily. I think a lot of my school reports say that I'm intelligent, but I'm away with the fairies. Or it looks like I'm not paying attention. I was always slower to complete work than a lot of people. So say if we had to write like a short story, everyone would have written like a page and I'd have written like 6 lines. So that was always difficult because then the teachers were always like, "You're better than this, like we know you can do it." And I was like, "But I'm trying." And then sixth form in university, really difficult. I would often skip lectures and classes and stuff because it was just too overwhelming. I used to hide out in a room in the music block with all the lights off, just curl up in the corner for sixth form. because nobody really thought there was anything wrong. Like, I know at sixth form and uni, people were just like, oh, she's just got anxiety, she's just got depression. And then that was that. They were like, oh, it's fine, she'll get past that, you know. Okay. So there was never any support, and I didn't quite know how to ask for help because I didn't really know what help I needed. I just knew that I couldn't do things the way that I was currently being told I had to. Kind of like, have you ever seen that? There's a picture and there's a tree, and then you've got like an elephant, a monkey, a goldfish, something else, and the monkey's obviously able to climb the tree, and then it's like, you guys are stupid because you can't climb the tree, and it's like, no, we just need adaptations to be able to get to the same point. I guess I felt like the goldfish.
It's interesting that you felt like you went from the top in primary to the bottom in secondary, and that transition from primary to secondary is so often a time where everything seems to fall apart for people with, especially with autism, ADHD.
And I went to a different secondary school to all my friends, because my parents made the decision to send me to a private school because I was struggling with, I guess, social aspects, focusing, all these things. So I went to a private school where it was much smaller classes, so that supposedly you get more time from the teachers and there'd be less going on and all of that. But dropping a girl in a girls' school, it's not the one. But yeah.
And there's a lot more to navigate at that kind of age as well.
Yeah. And there was always so much going on. Like, I never understood. And obviously now it was clear that I was just missing the social cues. But it was like people never said what they meant. And I'd feel like pulling my hair out because I was like, but I don't understand. And obviously I didn't know why, because everybody else seemed to totally understand what was going on or what, you know, the latest gossip was. And I was just there like, I don't know, I don't get it.
And maybe if you were in a mixed school, you might have found you'd get along better with boys, because they don't kind of do that unwritten rules thing quite as often or as easily.
They're a bit more direct. That's what I love about my job now, because the deaf community are very direct, because sign language as a language is direct. So you sign the important words, you sign what you need, what you want, what you're thinking, because they don't have the language to beat about the bush and all of that. And I just love it because I'm like, yes, I understand that. Where was this in school? If they taught sign language in school, I think that would have been amazing.
No ambiguity. Need to do the last. So thank you, Emma, for being here and for telling us about your experiences. It's been really interesting. Just before we finish and you go off, if you had any advice, one piece of advice for somebody in a similar position to how you were a couple of years ago, considering an assessment, considering possible diagnoses, what would it be?
I think it would be that if your gut is telling you that you should have the assessment, then go for it, because it will just help you understand yourself like so much. It's life-changing. Thanks for listening / watching. I've been Emma, she's been Jess. Like and subscribe, put some questions if you want to know more. See you next time.